Hello, welcome back to About Time. I'm Stephen and I've been a Doctor Who fan since 2005, and usually I'm joined on the podcast by my boyfriend Ben. Today, however, I'm joined by returning guest Aaron. Hello, Aaron.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
You're very welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. I think this is third time now. Maybe.
It is, yes.
It's an honour to be back. It's always a pleasure and it's just so much fun.
Good. Are you enjoying this current series so far?
Yeah, it's very good. I like it. I really liked last series, but I think this one, we're only 3 episodes in, but I feel like it's definitely blown out of the water in comparison.
I agree. But this is the fun thing about, because last year we recorded episodes as they were coming out, but I didn't release them until after the whole series had finished.
Yeah.
So there were some funny, ironic moments of us making lots of predictions that ended up going wah wah.
That episode, yeah.
Whereas
we just look like idiots.
Yeah, that's always the nature, isn't it? But this time I'm trying to release them all, in real time before the next one airs. So we're kind of going along with everyone watching it.
I thought about this before because of that episode, actually. I was like, I think I might have some bad takes.
Okay. All takes are welcome here, good ones and bad ones.
I just don't want to get it wrong continuously this time.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay to be wrong. It's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, very true, very true.
Yeah.
We aren't RTD.
No. Well, I am part-time, yeah. Apparently it's his birthday today, day of recording.
Oh, really? Happy birthday, RTD.
Happy birthday, Russell. Hope you have a marvellous birthday. Literally.
Yes. That's so good.
But yes, so as you know, obviously Ben doesn't watch the up-to-date episodes because we're not up to that point chronologically. Yeah. But this morning I was rewatching it before recording this, and he was getting himself some breakfast and he saw the pre-title sequence and he watched it. And I said to him, what do you think? Do you think it looks good? And his 3 notes were, oh my God, what an ugly TARDIS.
Uh-huh.
And I said to him, well, you think every TARDIS is ugly, so what do you think it should look like? And he says he's going to draw me a picture, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Very good.
He says Ncuti is playing it very gay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, that's pretty much undeniable.
Yes.
He didn't elaborate on whether that was good or bad. But he also said he loves the energy of the friendship between the two of them. He said he's sick at the moment where we are on the show of the constant romance and all that, so he likes the fact that it's just friendship and having fun.
I agree with that.
I agree as well.
That I kind of understand what he means about the TARDIS now, after 2 seasons. In the old seasons, when the Doctor would be underneath fixing something, even when Jodie was the Doctor and she was doing something, she had goggles on, everything, and it felt like, because the TARDIS was all a bit of a mess, so they were constantly fixing things and and then his TARDIS feels so Apple. An Apple TARDIS. And it doesn't really feel like there's going to be any exposed wires or anything like that. And I like the whole bigger on the inside, of course, but it does feel, it is just big for the sake of big. There's not actually any extraness.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no reason or need for the control room to be that big. Yeah, and like you say, they've gone for this very clean, very sterile, whereas I like the battered sort of thrown together, clanky, clunky. It's very British in a way, that it's just a bit ropey and thrown together. And I love when he has to sort of whack it with a hammer to make it work and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. The other thing I will say with this TARDIS that I do like is, so I really like how they're using the lights. Mm-hmm. And especially with, I hope we get to see more of this where they, go and get changed and then run out and it's, a bit for the episode. And, how the music influences it. Again, Toxic this week, that was great. Yeah. And because I watched Lux before yesterday as well, the lighting was very different in the 2, so it's really nice. That's a good effect. Yeah,
it is nice how they can adapt it with the different tones and stuff. Because it's the white is like this blank canvas, and then it can be different things.
Yeah,
but it does remind me a little bit of this modern thing where people have color changing lights in their houses, and it's like, Alexa, change the lights to blue or whatever. Yeah. It does remind me of that a little bit.
I understand because we're in a different day and age now. You don't necessarily need to see everything. You kind of just, it happens. But I know this is something that you put as a poll on social media.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing of, do they just go through the door and it's an instantaneous change and that like the TARDIS just magically does it for them?
Yeah.
Or is it just a stylistic choice? I do agree. I think it's stylistic. I think
it's
the
stylistic
majority
choice.
said that. But
yeah, but it is interesting how it's not like everyone is on the same page. There's a mixture of views. People are reading it differently.
I quite like the idea that the TARDIS is like, oh no, you need this. Like, you need to put this on.
I quite like the idea that the TARDIS is like dressing them in some magical way.
Yeah.
When they walk out the door afterwards, it always seems to me like it's the first time they're seeing what they're wearing and they're looking a bit sort of surprised, which is what makes me think it's that.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that because, I just assumed maybe it was the first time they were seeing each other and then they're like, but I think in this episode, more so than last week's, I was a bit like, that's convenient. But then that's just me being a little bit cynical when they both got the same like spacesuit that the people on the ship had. I was like, it's a bit maybe.
No, I know what you mean. It is very convenient, which again makes me think it's the TARDIS kind of reaching out its feelers and seeing what they're going to need, and presenting it to them.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the outfits today?
I have one thing to say. Ncuti GYATT-wa. I'm so down with the kids.
You are down with the kids. And if there's not a podcast episode where we're not thirsting over Ncuti GYATT-wa, I don't know.
I know. But yes, his behind, which he wants Belinda's mum to whistle at, was very on display.
It was. Yes, those suits didn't leave much to be desired.
No, that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. Like him and Belinda, very skin tight. I was thinking, oh my God, if I went to that place, I'd just die. I couldn't wear that.
I quite like the design of the suits, actually.
Oh yeah, they look cool.
But I'm not going to lie, I think this episode's probably one of my favourites so far.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. And I mean, no spoilers for rating or anything, but I think it's probably the best of this era so far. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes after.
It felt the most like good old-fashioned proper Doctor Who than it has for a long time.
I watched it with my family last night, and I got them to watch Midnight again before. They literally said they were like, this is the most it's felt like Doctor Who for a while. Like, it's the most Doctor Who it's felt. Which I do agree. You don't necessarily always need, like, the crazy, like, things going on. You literally could just have something that's invisible and not even there, like. And I feel like that plays into the whole part of Doctor Who that makes it so scary when you're a kid.
Yes.
Like, I think if I'd watched this when I was a kid, I would have been so confused. Like I said to you, I didn't really understand Midnight when I was a kid. I don't know. I don't know if I would have come away thinking, oh, I really loved that episode, or, oh, that was a bit creepy.
Yeah, I think Doctor Who and that kind of storytelling is it uses the audience's imagination a lot. And that kind of, what's in your mind is often scarier than what's actually there.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the past, when Doctor Who's been on a very limited budget, that's kind of played into that, and sort of the fact that they can't show you things effectively has made it scarier.
Yeah.
But I thought, even though we've got bigger budget now, I think that what they did show in this episode was done quite well in that way. It was very sort of limited.
Yeah, and it was like round corners. Like, I think it was nice because we were put in the shoes of the characters as well, where it was like, we don't fully get to see. Someone clipped it on Twitter or TikTok, and it was every time we see a glimpse of it. And it's so interesting because, like, you can kind of see how it's designed, but then it's kind of not, and then most of it is just a shadow.
Yeah.
And it is creepy. Like,
and it's not really designed to be paused and gone through frame by frame to look at. It's it's designed to be there to register in your eye for a split second, which is much better. I mean, the first time I watched it, that first shot, the first moment you see it, I didn't even notice it. I was like, what is she reacting to? I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't see it the first time either.
I love the sound design as well. That every time that it appears, you get this big sort of sound, and it's like, whoa, fuck, what was that? Like,
yes,
and the way they react, it's very, very good.
Very queer Doctor, I like it.
Yes, I do like it.
We've not really had anything like it before. Like, the Doctor's always kind of, like, been a little bit suggestive and flirty with everyone, but not, like, to the extent... Like, if you go back and watch some David Tennant episodes, he's a little bit flirty and everything. But I like it. And also, I love how he calls everyone babes. It's literally one of my favourite things. And then he's like, you can't call me babes. And he's like, okay, hun. Yeah. It's so good. I just love it.
It's quite passive-aggressive, that.
It is. I just also love that it just annoys so many people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, babes, like, who cares? Like...
I think it's fun. Because Ben says it all the time as well. Like, he says it ironically, I would say.
Yes.
And he even said it to his brother the other day, and his brother was like, don't call me babes. Like...
It's so funny. I love it. I love the power, like, of just using, like, subtle, like, words and phrases that really just, like, confuse men and their, like, fragility.
So easily confused, aren't they?
Yes. Also, Belinda is iconic.
Oh, I love her. I love her.
She's just, like, no shit on Ruby because she's lovely, but Belinda feels so much more fleshed out in 3 episodes than I felt like Ruby was in, like, a whole series.
Yeah, and especially, like, we haven't even seen Belinda's family, and yet they feel so much more real than Ruby's family, who we did see.
Yeah. I do like the change. Feels a lot more stakes than maybe what was in the first season.
Well, there's a great through line, isn't there? I love this continuity of this whole arc of, we can't get back home. It's like, keeps you watching and keeps you thinking, what's going to happen.
A little detail at the start of this episode, they're both in the same outfit from last week. It was just a nice little, like, nod to it. And I said to my sister, I was like, I feel bad for Belinda because she got woken up by robots, took to a planet, then she had to go fight some cartoon character in the 1950s in America. And then now she's in this, like, spaceship 500,000 years in the future. She hasn't actually sat down or, had a coffee or had a sleep or anything. Like, I wonder in terms of, like, time frame, I wonder what the actual, like, how much time they spend in each episode.
I know what you mean. It does feel a bit relentless for her.
The whole Vindicator thing feels familiar, and I don't know if it's ever been a thing before, but it feels like something that we've seen before.
The device itself reminds me a bit of that thing do you remember in The Poison Sky at the end when he makes that thing that's then going to go and set fire to the atmosphere?
Yes. Yeah.
It looks a bit like that.
And I mean, we could be on topic and on pop culture and talk about the penis-shaped rocket that went into space with Katy Perry recently.
Oh my god, they should have Katy Perry do a cameo in Doctor Who, just be like floating by in space.
Just floating. Yeah, in the destroyed wreck of Earth, you just see her just floating.
Yeah, like all those things like the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty, and Katy Perry just floats by.
That would be quite funny, actually.
I quite liked the opening of this one in that the Doctor lets Belinda try the lever of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And it felt to me like, when you're trying to open a jar and you just can't open it and you say to someone, here, you have a go. It's like, because they've tried twice now and they can't get back.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, you do it. And it's still not working.
I always like it when the companions get to sort of drive a bit or like at least learn somehow parts of the TARDIS.
Yeah. And also when they played Toxic at that moment, I was sort of like, are they suggesting that the Doctor's a bit toxic? Because true. He's saying to Belinda, you're starting to enjoy this, and they go off like having a laugh,
kind of coercing her into the adventures and the thrill of it, because like she's right about like he's dangerous, and I mean she nearly died. Well, I mean technically, if you think about it, she kind of did.
Yeah. I thought that was funny because there have been a few sort of formulaic things to this series that feel like they're echoing last series, and another one now being that in the 3rd episode, the companion, quote unquote, dies.
Boom. I forgot. I forgot about that. Whoa. Yeah.
It's very similar. I don't think there's anything to that. I think it's just that when Russell finds a formula that he likes, I think he sticks to it in a way. Because a lot of those early series would sort of follow a similar formula, with the year 5 billion episode near the beginning and then a celebrity historical.
Yeah, and then now we get the God episode every now and then.
Yeah. Nice little use of the original Doctor's theme when they're floating down to this planet.
Yeah, those outfits were really quite cool, the way they worked with the smoke coming out or whatever. Yeah. So is that the only instance of the Doctor's theme this episode? Or
I think so, but it was just nice to get a sort of legacy track in a way, but not just like a copied and pasted reused track, but just like it was reworked into the score. And I feel like maybe that was a little hint that we're revisiting something from that era in this episode.
That's a very good point, actually.
There are quite a lot of little hints, so you may be aware that this being a sequel to Midnight was leaked online quite a long time ago. I don't know if you managed to avoid all of that.
I didn't know.
You had no clue.
Because of season 1 and the way that all panned out, and I was a bit like, I'm keeping off of socials this time.
Yes.
I don't like leaks anyway because it ruins the point of it.
Absolutely not.
Just watch the program. Like, if you're going to watch it, watch it. I mean, those that do enjoy the leaks probably are the same people that then moan about it after. So
100%,
it's like,
yeah.
Like, why are you leaking it and ruining it for the people that want to see it?
The thing that I find difficult is that, I don't go and seek out leaks and I'd rather not see them, but then the people that do then sort of openly talk about it on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Or they say enough that if you see what they say, it's like it's pretty obvious what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it would be nice if people didn't do that. But
I feel like it's weird because like 5, maybe 10 years ago, people would like spoil things online. But like, I feel like it would be, you would have some context, or at least you would know they were going to. Now people just kind of say stuff as if everyone knows it.
Yes.
And like, and it's like, they don't even give you the option of not wanting to be spoiled. And I just think that really ruins the fun,
No, completely.
I mean, like, I must admit, going into these episodes and having no idea what's going to happen, other than the preview you see, like, the week before, every week I'm like a kid. I think I messaged you this, and I said, I feel like I'm a kid again, because I'm looking forward to Doctor Who. Like, Friday comes, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want it to be Saturday. I haven't felt like that for a long time.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I think I remember saying to you when I saw the preview, I was like, oh, it looks like this episode, it could be, and then you said, oh, have you seen any of the spoilers? And I was like, no.
I hope I was tactful and
didn't spoil anything. To be honest, like, I might get absolutely rinsed for this, but like I said to you previously, I hadn't really seen Midnight again as an adult. I watched it when I was a kid, and I watched it again yesterday, and that's the first time in a long time. But I kind of understand why I didn't really get it as a kid, because when you're a kid and you just see a bunch of people arguing at each other, it's like, what? But then I watched it yesterday, and like, I was getting stressed watching it, so like, because of the tension and the arguments and everything. So it's like, I feel like it is one of those ones that maybe are for the older audience more than the younger audience.
I do think it's a standout. It's one of the best things Russell's written. I know when we watched it for the podcast, Ben was not a fan, but I think, like you said it made you feel stressed. I think that's what he didn't like about it, because he couldn't get on with it. He found it a bit overstimulating with everyone talking over each other.
I really found that. It's weird though, because when you jump from an old to a new, you really see how the pacing changes so much. Like, what happened in Midnight, if that was now, I feel like we would lose so much of the scenes of them arguing, and that we wouldn't have as much of like because it was overlaid and like it got to a point where you're like, oh my god. Whereas now I feel like they would cut parts and it would be a lot more snappy. It feels like you keep on a thing for longer in old Doctor Who, and then now. And
I don't know if I feel this a lot, and I feel like I really miss that era. That Russell T Davies 1 era was my golden era, and obviously I don't know how much of that is just nostalgia because of the age I was when I watched it, or if it genuinely was better than anything since.
I think it could be both.
Yeah,
it can definitely be both. I mean, we're both nostalgic for it, of course.
Yeah.
But I like, especially with those episodes, like you were shocked that I hadn't seen them again. But then actually, when you rewatch them, I was watching that not really nostalgically, obviously, and I thought how good it was, and it still sort of holds up today. It's so funny though, the amount of cameos and actors in old Doctor Who that like have been in so many things now, and you're like, whoa, this is quite a big cast. But then it probably wasn't.
But that's what I love about that episode, is like you get quite a range of different types of characters. Like you've got the family who are on holiday. You've got Sky, who's sort of this miserable woman on her own. You've got the Professor and Dee Dee. They're all so different. And then so put them in a pot together and like the fuse. It's really good. Whereas this, like, I'm not saying that this was not good, but they're all those kind of, whatever they were, soldiers or whatever.
Yeah, some sort
of one mind,
And you don't get as much time with them. So, like, when they die and everything happens, it's kind of, okay, they died.
Yeah.
Which we'll get back to that scene, I'm sure, because I've got some thoughts on that. I'm sure you do. But, yeah, you definitely got to build up the time with those characters. I'm surprised so many of the characters in the original survived. But maybe it was, like, the creature didn't really understand its abilities yet. Like, it hadn't evolved to the point it was at in the new one.
Yes. There was a brief moment where a bit of me in this episode, when they were exploring the sort of deserted base at the beginning, and then they saw, oh my god, the mirrors have all been smashed. what could do this to someone and all that. There were a tiny flash in my brain went, oh, weeping angels. Like they've smashed the mirrors because they don't want to see their reflections or something.
I like that it builds up, and I really feel like until the reveal, unless you saw the spoiler, the reveal was great. Like, I liked the reveal of like
it was him. Yeah. I do wish that I hadn't been spoiled, because I was noticing all the little, when she kept saying about, oh, they're stripping a layer of carbon 46 or whatever it was. It's like, well, obviously carbon is diamond, and that's what they're talking about. But then it was nice to sort of see, oh, I wonder when they're going to drop it. I wonder when the Doctor's going to twig.
Yeah. When they first go down and they're like investigating, looking for life signs, I'm awful with names, but the hot guy for the episode,
Cassio.
Yeah, Cassio. Even if he is a dick, he was the hottie of the week for me. Anyway, he said something about like, we should have stopped coming here, or this, we should have destroyed this long time ago.
Yeah.
Like in reference to the planet. And I wonder if like that's just like a direct continuation from, because I think in Midnight the Doctor says something about like, get off this planet, and then obviously now at the end they're like talking about destroying it. I think they said something, but yeah, I think this does well at building the suspense. You're never sort of bored this episode, I feel like. And actually, I feel like this is the first time in a little while where you've had that classic thing of the Doctor runs off with a few of the other characters and the companion stays with a few of the other characters. And that felt very like older Doctor Who thing to do.
I love that.
And also I like that there's a purpose for Belinda being a nurse. Like, it's not just like tacked onto her character like she's a police officer. Like, no shade. You know, in each episode she's actually seeming to care, and like, I like the fact she didn't have a clue what to do with the med kit. Like, that was just... I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, so many times we've seen them like use things in the future and then they just do it and we're like, but you wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, that was nice, because in the first episode, she could see that there was enough similarity and she was like, okay, I can work with this. And then in this episode, it was a little bit like, oh, wow, okay, this is a bit alien for me. But yes, shall we... So you alluded already to Cassio, but I'm just going to take a pause to play the jingle.
Hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week. Let's find out who is hottie of the week.
Who is the hottie of the week?
Well, you've got your Casio.
I have got Casio.
Your digital watch.
Don't usually go for well, the bad guys are always have the badness, which usually makes them unlikable, right? But he was very attractive. As soon as he took that helmet off,
he was very hot. I will agree with that. His ears were very prominent, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, Russell Tovey.
No, if anything, to be fair, yeah,
gives you something to hold on to.
Why? I thought it, but you said it, and then
it made me think of River's song. You might want to find something to hang on to.
Much love to the actor, because he's a gorgeous, sexy man, and you are my hottie of the week.
Lovely. Well, I had two. I think he is one, but I also just wanted to mention the other guy. That he had like one line when he just ran in and he said that they found them all dead.
Is he the guy that gets like thrown up when he stood in front of the door?
Yeah, I think he's like one of the last ones to get thrown up. And every time he gets thrown up, I'm like, oh no, not the cute one.
I knew you would like him. Yeah. Also, Ncuti, hello?
Oh, well, yeah, like, he just goes without saying every week.
Yes, but like in that outfit, as you said, he deserves an honourable mention.
He does.
Bum of the week. There we go.
Bum of the week. We need a new jingle.
But yeah, it was a very good cast. I liked it.
Yes. Do you know who I loved a lot was Shire, how you pronounce it? The captain.
Yes.
She was fantastic.
I loved her.
Really good performance. She's just so watchable.
I really liked her too. Like, it's weird. You know how you just have thoughts when you're watching? I was like, if there's ever an instance like in the future where they need someone to play the Doctor, it's a very rare instance where you think, oh, this person is cool. Like, I think they'd do it well. She just gave me that. Like, I could imagine her in a role like that. And especially in the way she died. I mean, realistically, we're probably never going to get another thing like Peter Capaldi, but...
Well, you never know.
Like, the way she died, obviously, so, like, she sacrificed herself, blah, blah, blah. And she just carried any scene she was in.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I just love it. She seems so, you know, sure. And, like, I like how she trusted the Doctor.
Yes.
I know it's not
Yeah.
always the wise thing to do, but like,
That's classic Doctor Who, isn't it? There, where like the Doctor charms his way in, and the authority figures start to listen to him and trust him.
yeah.
And then you've got obviously Cassio was obviously quite against that.
Yeah, that came out of, I don't know, I feel like maybe we missed something, like maybe there was supposed to be extra things, or maybe there was like something we didn't see, because he was like, when that girl died, it seemed to really hit him more than the others, like...
Yeah, he said that she was his friend.
Which felt a bit like a kid on the playground being like, oh, she's my friend. But like, you know, I understand, obviously, if your friend just died.
Yeah.
But, because all the others didn't seem to really, I mean... Mo, I liked Mo. She seemed to care. She seemed very lovely.
Yeah.
But everyone else were a bit like,
Yeah, they were all, they had that sort of coldness, the clinicalness that you have to have in that kind of job. Like when Mo said that, you know, they couldn't detect any heartbeats, but there was still hope. And Shia was like, hope is irrelevant, thank you. Yeah. It was, that kind
I feel
of
like she started to
have.
become more optimistic as the episode. Like, I feel like she changed a lot.
She did, yeah.
Because of the Doctor and Belinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we're probably jumping ahead, but like while we're on her, we may as well talk about it. Sort of diminishes the purpose of her sacrifice. What happens after? But yeah, just kind of.
I mean, if we're talking about the sacrifice, like I felt that this is the second episode in a row where we get that kind of suicide saves the day moment, which always makes me a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, because people just killing themselves to save others because of the Doctor. I don't know, like that feels very... We've been there, and I thought he stopped doing that.
Yeah, but in this case, it was different. A, because like her sacrifice actually didn't save the day. It was kind of irrelevant, which made it kind of more painful.
Yes.
But also, like I felt like that wasn't for the Doctor or anything. She was just doing that because she felt it was the right thing to do.
As captain, kind of.
Yes, exactly, her duty.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a trope that seems to come up a lot, and it always makes me a bit like, oh, do we have to...
Yeah, you're right. And also, I feel like they probably went a bit above and beyond. Like, I feel like as fans, we ask for a lot, but then when we get given things, we're like, oh, maybe we didn't need that. Like, all the scenes with the young girl, when it was like cutting between the two, when they were both running, and it was showing her backstory. And it's like, why are we learning so much about her? Like, because for her to then die, I mean, maybe it's to make us feel sad, but it's nice to have a fleshed out character. Like, it
is nice, yeah. And the fact that it was like looping back to her childhood when she was saying about, I ran through the wildlands as a child or whatever, and like, and you saw her, it was like full circle for her.
Yeah, it was nice. It was just a shame, really. I mean, we knew we were going to lose characters because this was quite a scary episode, but...
Yeah, and when you've got a big ensemble like that, you know that they're going to get picked off, like...
Yeah. So how do you feel about that bit? You know, the bit when we lose a majority of the cast?
Okay, so you messaged me about this, and I think you found it a bit clunky that basically the guy was running back and forth, and everyone who was 180 degrees opposite him was dying. Yeah. What is it? What was your issue with it? What was your problem?
What's my problem?
Yeah.
So I watched it again, and I still kind of felt it. And I said to my sister, I was like, do you not think that's a bit, like, extra? Like,
as in, you think he should have realised and stayed still and stopped? Or
yeah, it was because by that point, I'm like, the only person that's causing the death of these people is you, and you're killing all of your other teammates.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's happening. It's happened twice or three times, and then you continuously... And also, but I don't understand why he's running backwards and forwards. Because, like...
Yeah.
Maybe he's seeing it and it's freaking him out. Okay, I kind of get that.
I think it's
but
that,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, it just annoyed me. Like, I feel like Ben might agree with me on that. If he
probably
I feel like he'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, because that's literally what I felt the whole time, and I was just like,
"Just stand still, babes.
Just stand still, babes, and shut the fuck up." Like, literally, like you're doing everyone's head in.
Yes.
Asserting yourself and like taking over control and then fucking killing the whole team. It's like,
that's the thing for me that I think what it is for me is that he was so certain that it was not what they were all saying it was, and so when he starts seeing evidence that it is, I think that was shaking his world, and he was desperate to be right. So he was sort of getting a bit panicky, and the more that people were dying, it was just sort of, maybe part of him was like, oh, okay, it's happened twice in a row, but surely it's not going to happen again. And he wasn't thinking about the fact that these people would die. I don't know.
It did feel a bit like, if you were in that moment, I mean, I imagine it was quite like you would be a bit like stunned by like all the people would be stunned, but like that was so. I mean, it was just sheer luck that the Doctor, Belinda, and like all of the main characters that were going to go through. Like they weren't 180 degrees behind her. Like it's just
yes, but also the Doctor was saying to everyone, "Don't look at the floor," as if that was going to protect them. So do you have to be looking in order to die?
That's a good point. I don't know actually, because they all did seem to like cower away, but then people still were dying.
Yeah, it was weird.
They did look a bit goofy.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan actually of the way that they were sort of launched.
I think where the girl like got flung across to the side and like crashed into something.
Yeah,
how he
that was
got
good.
Pushed back into something and it hit, and like the impact killed him. Whereas the others, it just kind of was like, and then splat. But like that
I feel like you could change the music and it would be like quite a comical scene.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, definitely.
You remember in The Runaway Bride when the Christmas tree baubles are exploding and everyone in the wedding reception sort of launching themselves this way and that way? It sort of reminded me of that.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that you're right. I mean, if you switched it up, you could probably change the whole tone of it.
Yeah.
What was your opinion when we then get to the main room? Why do you think, like, what was the point of her sitting in that circle? Was it purely just for like the whole thing to come, like, so we get the whole 180 degrees, yada yada yada?
I think, to be honest, I would say it's that. I think there was quite a good use of circles throughout the set design, because obviously that was thematic to the whole thing, and the circle on the floor I think just helped to underline the point of the clock face and everything.
I think it's funny because I feel like a lot of kids nowadays probably doesn't know what like a kind of traditional clock looks like. So
definitely,
yeah, and then with the Doctor kind of then doing the whole at midnight.
I work with mostly 10 and 11-year-olds at the moment, and a large majority of them wouldn't know how to tell the time on an analog clock, even though it's on the curriculum and they've been learning it. Like,
do you know? So sorry, just you saying that, I got called Steve. I got told I look like Jack Black. I started my new job last week, and I work in a primary school. I got told I look like Jack Black multiple times because of the new Minecraft movie. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit stunned, and I'm like, I'm gonna cut my hair, I'm gonna shave my face.
Oh, okay. You didn't take it as a compliment then?
I was a bit caught off guard. I was like, I didn't expect this. I don't know if that's a compliment or if that's an insult, And then,
that is the thing about working with children, is they have no filter and they don't understand what might be sensitive to someone.
I don't know. I think you said this before, but I sort of want to say, did anyone watch Doctor Who at the weekend?
Yeah.
Because I said to them the other day, I was like, what's your favourite TV show? And they were like, YouTube.
Oh yeah, no, TV is dead for that generation. Nobody watches TV. Yeah. There is one kid in the class that I work in who I know likes Doctor Who and watches it because his family watch it. But I said to some girls the other day on the playground, I was like, they asked me what I was doing at the weekend, and I said, well, my favourite TV show is back on, Doctor Who. I said, if anyone cares. And one of them was like, I care, but I don't watch it.
Gotta love him.
Yeah, it's such a shame, isn't it? Because back in 2005, 2006, every one of those kids would have known what it was and would be Dalek obsessed. And,
exactly.
But times change.
Yeah. I remember being back on the playground because, I mean, I was, 7, 8, 9, and,
perfect age.
Time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I said that. I wish I could watch this series as a child because I feel like there's so many things that don't bother me now because I'm nearly 27 and, like... Whereas I feel like back then I would have been terrified, But I try and watch it with that head on. I try to regress when I'm watching an episode, just kind of take it at face value.
Another character that I wanted to bring up was Mo.
Yes,
who was really sweet, really really nice. She
was. Yeah.
And also, I know this happens all the time with Doctor Who when you're casting human actors and British actors and all that. But, she's saying that she's never heard of Earth and humans, but she's clearly got a Birmingham accent. Like, she's like, you're a funny sort of nurse.
Well, a lot of planets have a Birmingham.
Yeah. Or at the end of the day, it's just the TARDIS translator, isn't it? Like,
do you think so? All of these different, not humans. Yeah, the TARDIS is just like, I'm going to give you a Birmingham accent. I'm going to give you a different accent. And it's funny. Just,
me and Ben had a huge argument about this on our Vincent and the Doctor episode.
Right.
Because if you remember, obviously Van Gogh is Dutch,
yes,
and the episode takes place in France. and that the TARDIS gives him a Scottish accent. And Ben was absolutely furious and was like, that doesn't make any sense. And it's so disrespectful to Van Gogh because they should have given him a Dutch accent or something.
I mean, I love that. I mean, like everyone, love that episode. But at the end of the day, I don't think it can be disrespectful to Van Gogh because I don't really think he ran around like chasing like invisible animal like monsters or whatever
Chickens.
they were. Yeah, chickens. So you kind of go one way or the other. But yeah, no, it is fascinating.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it renders. I think it takes into account like people's social status as well, and like, you know, if you've got like a servant character, it's going to give them an accent that the companion will sort of associate with. Yeah, whether that's a whole can of worms there, because that's obviously, you know, quite problematic.
Yeah.
But I do think that's what it comes down to with the casting.
That makes sense actually. Yeah, because I suppose everyone's got kind of their own interpretation of everything.
Because again, go back to Vincent and the Doctor. You've got there's these ladies that are scrubbing the tables outside the cafe, and they talk like that, like they've got Somerset accents, and they're supposed to be in France, and they're like.
That's true. Yeah,
he never pays his bill.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's just Amy judging everyone.
Too much about accents. But it did make me laugh when Mo's saying, humans, never heard of you, never heard of planet Earth, and she's so Birmingham.
I liked that scene actually. It was very sweet. It was like you do kind of care for these characters. It's nice when the companion gets a bit of time to like get to know a few of them, or like their name, or even just like there was an interaction where I think it's when Belinda sees the thing and then she says something and turns to Mo and then like thanks her by name, and I'm like that's so nice that she's like took the time to remember her name and like
absolutely
kind of, you know, gone above and beyond.
Yeah. I just realised, you know, who that relationship dynamic reminds me of is Martha and Jenny in Human Nature.
Yeah.
Before she turns evil, obviously, but yeah, they have that lovely sort of friendly
thing going on. Mm-hmm. I get that. I get a lot of Martha, like the heart of Martha.
Yes.
From Belinda, the way she like cares for people, you know.
And she's so smart as well. Like she's so on it.
Yeah. I like that she kind of ridicules the formula of Doctor Who a little bit. I think that's quite fun.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that. She's like ridiculous. You go by the Doctor. Yeah. But yeah, I really like her as a companion overall. Like, I'm so excited. I not getting my hopes up too much for anything major, but all we can hope for is she doesn't get killed off and she might come back eventually at some other point. Yeah.
Well, if she doesn't get killed off, chances are she's going to get offered a job at UNIT, like everyone does.
Yeah. That's default now. Like, you get travel with the Doctor and you get immediately...
get a six-figure salary just for making cups of tea at UNIT.
Exactly, but the ones that make higher, it's only if you're under 18. Remember,
yes.
The child labour laws are kind of iffy in UNIT.
So I can't believe we're this far into recording and we haven't mentioned one of the most amazing things of this episode, which is the performance of Rose Ayling-Ellis as Alice Fenley.
Yes, very good.
How amazing!
She was brilliant, and actually, like, it just brings a whole nother layer to the episode. You know, you learn and you felt so much. One of my favourite lines of the whole episode was when she says to Belinda, "You're a nurse and you don't know sign language. That's illegal."
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm like, as someone, so like, I don't know sign language, but I've always wanted to learn sign language just to have it as like a, you know, in case of emergency. And I think it should be. Everyone should know it. If everyone can speak, everyone should know sign language.
It's one of those rare moments in, you know, the show that often shows us quite a bleak view of the future. That you've got quite a nice thing there, that it's like, actually, it's not all bad. Yeah.
I often find those things, though, because when you go back and watch old Who, like, you see things that were said then, and then they're kind of normal now. And I kind of hope that in, like, 15 years' time, maybe hopefully before, but, like, sign language is more integrated into, you know, even, like, the kind of consideration of the text, the voice to subtitles, like, everyone having their own subtitles, is a really cool addition.
Yes.
But even still, it's not that great of an advancement, is it? If you think about it technologically, it's like, it kind of reflects how the real world treats people with disabilities. Like,
Yeah.
we'll advance, but we're not going to like do anything major to like
Yes.
help
Yes.
or fix.
This is like 500,000 years in the future. This is set so far in the future, and yet you've still got this barrier for people who are born with different abilities. There's this whole thing about, it's this sort of sociological angle of looking at disability. You can either look at it through the sort of medical model, where, you know, if you've got a disability, it's because there's something quote unquote wrong with you, or you're lacking, you have a deficit. Or there's the social model of disability, which is like, actually, there's nothing wrong with you. You were just born differently. And actually, the disability is in society, but that society has not been developed to allow you to access everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just interesting, like, to see an episode set so far in the future where that is still a thing. Like, yeah, okay, they've got these things, they've got these subtitle machine things,
But it's the
like,
bare minimum.
yeah, and they, you know, they didn't all understand sign language, whereas like we could all learn that from birth.
Exactly. I think it opens up that conversation wider as well across, like, and it's just so powerful, the difference between like able-bodied people and even if you look at like neurotypical people and neurodivergence in people, it's the same thing. And I like the way that we view things now in 2025 compared to like 15, 20 years ago, you know. It's interesting because I feel like this would never have been an episode back then.
No.
They would have been making a comment about something else that was obviously either like an issue at the time, but this would never have even been considered. I think that sums it up really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure there's still things after this that are like not talked about or like not kind of discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And I mean, she did such an amazing job
She did.
in that role. You just wanted to like give her a hug.
Yes.
And like,
honestly,
like she was so terrified, and I think she just owned it. Like, absolutely owned it.
her performance was so good for me because, so obviously I can't speak for deaf people, but, you know, I was reading up on her that she has been deaf since birth. And what it just says to me is that her performance is so genuine. She's feeling those emotions that she needs to feel, because her voice, the way her voice quivered and trembled when she was afraid, and her inflection and everything. For some actors, it might be a case of, well, we've heard what people sound like when they're scared, so I'm going to mimic that. She hasn't had that opportunity. So she is genuinely just, you know, she is feeling those emotions in her core, and she's being authentic with it. And it really comes across. Like you say, you just want to give her a hug.
Exactly. Again, I agree completely with that. And the way she does communicate, and then even down to when like they turn off their like subtitles and then they speak to each other, and she's like, I can lip read. And I think that they kind of misjudge her and just kind of treat her like that, and it's not very nice.
Because that is when the doctor turns off his thing and he talks to Belinda and says, be careful of her. Like, it's so rude to do that.
It is.
The fact that the doctor did that, he slipped up, and then he acknowledged, he realised immediately, and he said sorry to her. He signed it. Yeah, even the doctor is not perfect.
And
for deaf people, that is something they're experiencing every day.
Exactly. Like the awareness of all of it. Like,
that's the thing. I really liked how they treated the sort of the deaf etiquette. They highlighted the fact that as well, like when he turned her back and she was like, don't turn your back on me, please. Like, she was really desperate because she couldn't understand anymore. And like I saw on Unleashed that they had to, all the cast and crew, I think, on this episode went to a deaf awareness course before producing the episode.
That's amazing.
Just so that everyone was sort of aware of these things that we should be doing to make things easier.
Doctor Who's one of those things where it's like a time capsule for the period of time that it was made in, like
100%.
of the cast and who they get in the episodes and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that in terms of cast and things, but also in terms of the points that they're trying to make. Like, it's the things that are relevant and sort of quote unquote progressive for the time. Like having Jack kiss both Rose and the Doctor in that episode in 2005 was so boundary pushing at the time. It was such a shock. Whereas now it would not be really turned back.
I think that was the first time I saw a guy kiss a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it made you the person you are today.
Yep. Look at this indoctrination. Stupid woke nonsense.
Yes.
Making all the kids gay. Yeah, no. But, yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is something that I want to just touch on while we're on this. Is like, I feel like as Doctor Who fans, some of us grew up watching Doctor Who, and it teaches us, like, morals and how to treat others and, you know, people having differences in life and all that sort of thing. And you still get people that are, like, just awful people.
Oh,
you know, and they grew up watching it. I'm like, did we grow up watching the same program?
Oh, I know.
Because
it's absolutely mind-blowing, mind-numbing.
What? I don't understand it.
Like-
Like a show that teaches you like to be respectful of others and all that sort of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my little like.
No, I completely agree. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, how can you be a fan of this show that teaches so much about tolerance and kindness and all that, and
Exactly.
then behave in a certain way? But it's just as mind-numbing as, you know, not to open up this whole can of worms. I'll open it very briefly and then shut it. But you know, how J.K. Rowling can have written such a book that seems to preach about kindness and accepting people, and then have turned out the way she is.
Turn into the villain that she wrote.
Yeah, I'm going to firmly shut that can again now. But
yes,
yeah,
it's sad really, because at the end of the day, I mean, it is a show and it is aimed at kids, but it always has such a strong message behind it. But yeah, no, it's such a strange world we live in, you know, 2025. Sorry, that was my little tangent about life and Doctor.
No, that's what we're all about, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, because like, granted, we said there's probably not many kids watching it, but like, just seeing a guy like being so comfortable in their sexuality, or not even sexuality, but just in like the way they speak, the way they dress, the way they kind of present themselves in not necessarily the most masculine, stereotypically kind of way. It's just lovely, isn't it? Like, we're not all like super femme guys, but at the same time, like, we're so past the whole binary of like masculine, feminine, like shit, you know?
Yeah.
But so it's nice to see. So yes, him doing saying babes and like kicking his leg in the air, and it's a nice thing.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you about the mechanics of the creature and how killing you, how it works and all that, because I found that a bit confusing.
Okay.
So Belinda explained it with the little nuts and bolts on the floor.
Yeah.
But it seems like whoever's behind Alice and also behind the creature dies, but it doesn't happen all the time. It only happens.
I feel like, I don't know if it was like, maybe it was, since it was feeding off of her feeling she was scared, she was afraid, so the creature might have felt scared and afraid and kind of felt like it was getting ganged up on and didn't really know. And maybe this was, and if the way I interpret this creature is like, as we saw in Midnight, how it kind of, if we're assuming it's the same thing, like how it evolves progressively as it takes in like things from the characters. And maybe with that, because obviously she spun around, didn't she?
Yeah.
Before, and it didn't kill all of them. And so I was thinking like, that's strange, but then maybe it's because there wasn't someone stood directly in front of her, and all of those people, like, so when she spun, there was no one on the other side for her, so the creature maybe turned to the front of her.
I don't know. And why did all the mirrors get smashed? Did the creature do that, or did the people do that? Because if they see their reflection, but then as well, like, would that be in the kind of resolve of the episode? If the creature sees itself, it's a bit Weeping Angel, isn't it? And I didn't. So with the whole Mercury thing, the sort of curtain of Mercury pouring down, creating the reflection, visually very cool idea. But I don't quite understand how the creature seeing its reflection does anything.
Yeah, and then also in that logic, not to like, but their reflection was also in the mirror, all of them, and then technically all of them were behind the creature. I guess they weren't exactly behind her because she was in the way, but like,
and it didn't kill it. I mean, it just kind of let Alice go.
And it was. I must admit, I have had a little look online today to see what people's thoughts and feelings were, and the vibe I get is people seem to think that there was maybe multiple, or like at least kind of like it was splitting.
That's what I think. I think it's because of the reflection created a second one.
Yeah, so I don't know if the one that was on Alice ever actually left Alice, because then when they're in that pod, it showed like 3 people, but then on the screen it had like 4.
Yes. I think the ending was left quite vague, probably on purpose, but it just makes it a bit, you come away slightly thinking, not quite sure what happened there.
Well, I thought it was strange how we got such a like blunt cut, how it all of a sudden just cut to her laying on the floor in the TARDIS.
Yeah, I think a lot of episodes this era, just the endings do feel quite rushed.
It's like, we need to quick get back in the TARDIS. We need to...
Yeah, I mean, you know, they managed to make perfectly satisfying 45-minute episodes back in the day.
Exactly.
But it does make me wonder, like, maybe they should be a little bit longer, like an hour. So shall we talk about our weekly appearance from the mysterious lady?
Yeah, so I am getting very confused. I mean, but I think that's what they want, obviously. And it's starting to veer a little bit into Susan Twist a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, this one was the one I felt the most like...
because she didn't seem like the character that we've established so far. Like, normally she's this very camp sort of old lady, sort of, oh, you know... And then all of a sudden it felt like she was playing a very different role. Yeah,
exactly. I interpreted it that it obviously is her, and we are just seeing her kind of going around if she has a TARDIS or something, and she's kind of tailing the Doctor and like kind of making things happen. And even with last week, I felt like she was still herself, the one from current time. She just went back and was like,
exactly,
look at this, you know. Whereas this, I was like, it really caught me out because it felt like she was putting on a bit of a voice.
Yes.
And then, like, last week felt quite malicious, like her ending where she was like, well, limited run only, like, blah, blah, blah. And it felt evil. And I came away thinking, okay, so she's going to be bad. And then today's, I was like, but then she called it a vindicator, which the Doctor made up in the TARDIS and was like, he said it's such and such. And he went, I'm going to call it a vindicator, and put his hands on his hip.
Yes, you're right.
And then she knew. It's like, okay, so you're seeing more. You're probably seeing what we're seeing. And she was like, that's good, or something like where it's like, it's good that he's doing. And it's like, so are you trying to get him here to help, or are you trying to get him here because you're bad? It's fun. It's a lot more fun than Susan Twist. I'll be honest. Like,
I do think she seems sinister.
Yes,
but also this is the first appearance she's had where she hasn't actually broken the fourth wall, I think.
Yeah.
If you count last week, I know they cut the wink right from the very end, but she was talking about the show ending, so it sort of felt like a fourth wall break. Whereas this, she was very much within it and she didn't break it.
Yeah, I don't know. As time goes on, I do really feel she's very close to the Doctor. She's got some sort of like... They clearly know each other. She knows him.
Yeah.
He clearly doesn't know her in this incarnation, maybe.
I know where you're going, and I hate to say it, but the more that we see, the more I'm starting to think, okay, they're actually bringing the Rani back.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually wouldn't be. I think it would be cool because I mean, we've never seen her in New Who, right? So...
Depending how it's done. The one thing I really don't want them to do is when we first met Mrs. Flood, I jokingly said on the podcast that, well, where does the flood come from? Rain, and rain is an anagram of Rani. If they fucking do that, I'm gonna cringe so hard.
Or like someone pointed out as well, because Belinda Chandra?
Belinda Chandra, Rani Chandra from Sarah Jane.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like there are little things, and but again, it's I'm kind of not looking for them. Like last time, I was looking a bit too much, I think.
Yeah,
I think everyone was a little bit, but I think that was because the whole Ruby Sunday's mum was a big deal, and then it wasn't, you know? So if it is a different route and she isn't the Rani and she isn't whatever, and it is something more like linked to the Pantheon, is she the god or is she the Harbinger?
Could be either.
I there are rumours that she's River Song, which, in my opinion, is literally the worst theory out there.
That would be awful.
It would, but
even worse than her being Susan.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I wouldn't mind her being Susan if it was done well. But yeah, I just keep thinking back to that line she had in Legend of Ruby Sunday, I think it was, where she said, "Oh, I'm always hiding myself away." That felt like it had some significance.
I'm very excited to see where it leads, and I actually think we might get, not to like overhype because I'm definitely not going to do that, but I feel like we're going to get a better outcome and conclusion, maybe. Like, even just once we learn who she is, you know? If she's just a random new character, then it might... I don't know if I would hate that, to be honest. It might not be a bad thing.
I just hope whatever it is, it's satisfying.
Yeah.
That's all I can ask for, and based on last series, it's a little bit
I think
That's the bare minimum.
Yeah, and I think that it should be. So do you like the Rani theory too?
Well, I don't know if I like it. I mean, I wouldn't be offended by it if it was done well.
Yeah. When did we last see the Rani? It was Classic Who, wasn't it?
Well, it depends if you count Dimensions in Time, which was the EastEnders crossover that they did for Comic Relief, I think it was.
Oh, really?
But that's not canon, is it? That's a load of old rubbish.
Well, I mean, the Doctor and Belinda have also been in EastEnders, so it all depends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, other than that, I think she's only been in 2 stories of Classic Who.
Oh, okay, so it's not really that much,
No. I just think she's quite similar to the Master. I believe they invented the character because they wanted a female version of the Master. But now, obviously, we don't need to do that because Time Lords can be whatever gender.
Yeah. I did a little bit of digging on her as well, and it was like, Time Lady, and I was like, I haven't heard that for a while.
No.
I'm glad that they've dropped that, because, it doesn't need to be gendered, The 12th Doctor puts it very nicely when he says something about, you humans, idea of, identity and gender or whatever, it's all rubbish or whatever.
Yes.
And I really paraphrased it, but yeah, that's a very good point that he makes. But I think, though, what I was doing when I did a bit of research, it was more like she seems not necessarily a bad character. She's not a supervillain like the Master trying to, ruin the day. But then actually, over the time, I feel like the Master's changed a lot and isn't always bad. So, with Missy, for example. So I feel like, it kind of does make the character a little bit obsolete. And clearly that's a reason why it's only been in 1 or 2 stories, because it's much easier to choose the Master, because...
Yeah.
But I think, personally, if you're going to do that, I think it would be interesting to see more of because apparently they were childhood friends, the 3 of them.
Oh,
That's
really?
what I read. So, and it's that would be an interesting dynamic to see, the triangle, because you've got the Master and the Doctor who are, horny for each other all the time. And then you've got the Rani, and it's maybe they I don't want a love triangle, but because I think sets of 3 are sometimes quite a nice thing.
Yes, they are.
So it'd be quite satisfying. And if she's kind of a middle ground between the Doctor and the Master, he's really bad, the Doctor's really good, and then she's in the middle, and it's she's neither here nor there. Sometimes she might work with the Doctor, sometimes she might work with the Master.
Yeah.
It could be a fun addition into the canon.
Yes, it could be interesting. So overall then, a good episode.
Yep.
Should we do our rating out of 5?
Yeah.
What are you going to give it?
Oh, I feel like this is maybe ballsy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give this... Do you do points? Do you mind a 0.5, or do you want us...
Technically like to do a whole number, but if you really want to do a point, we can. Yeah.
No. I'll do 4.
Okay.
Squibbly dibbly.
I think it was a very good episode. I think last week's was my favourite, so this hasn't beaten it exactly, but I do and it's nice to get it's nice to get a return. I feel like we've been gagging for a return lately. We haven't had anything, so, and it was so random. Of all the things to return. What's your rating?
It's I find it very tricky, because if I'm rating it compared to the rest of this era, I feel like I want to say, well, it's the best so far, and I gave Robot Revolution a 4, and I feel like I should be giving this a 5.
Yeah.
But if I compare it to the whole of Doctor Who, and compare it particularly to my, as I call it, the golden era,
yeah,
honestly, it's probably more like a 2 or a 3. But that's just me. So, I don't know whether I should be a bit more generous. I think I'm tempted to give it a 4. Again, if we did do points, I would say 4.5, but I think I'm going to just keep it on a 4, because I think I'm being optimistic and leaving some space at the top for something to surpass it.
Yeah,
so,
I think
4.
Squibbly dibbly.
In the grand scheme of so like you said, isolated from in a bubble of this season only, in my opinion, it is 5. But in the grand scheme of the whole show, there's definitely been some that are better. But I'd be curious to know what... I know it's going to be a long time, but I feel I wonder what Ben would rate these episodes. So obviously, can I ask what you think he would rate this episode if he had to?
It's very tricky, because TV has changed so much, and the way that stories are told. And I'm really not sure. That's the thing with Ben. He's quite unpredictable. Like, I think, oh, he'll probably like this, and then he doesn't, or vice versa. But based on the fact that he quite liked the pre-title sequence, he said he liked the energy between Doctor and Belinda.
Yeah.
I think, for example, this episode, I think he would have enjoyed.
Yeah. I think he might like Belinda a lot, actually, just because of how much she does, like we talked about, like, say, like, that's so stupid, you know, or like, this is ridiculous, or like, I can imagine him being like, she's correct.
yes, she's quite Ben coded in that way.
She is. yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think overall it's shaping up to be quite a good series, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm being cautious while I'm saying that because, you know, we've got a long way to go.
Crossed. Yeah,
but yeah.
Oh, I've got a question before we wrap it up. But if you had to see another return, who would you like? What villain do you think? I mean, I know there's like an answer that we all probably want to see Ncuti face.
I know, that was what immediately jumped to my mind. It's the only thing I can think. Like,
yeah.
I want them. I want them back.
I do, and I kind of want a new design, or like, or like something a little bit more. I don't know, maybe not too abstract, but like 2005 did a good job at like making a new version.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that Russell was when they were redesigning them for 2005, he was very strict about keep those proportions the same. Like, you're not redesigning, you're just polishing them for the new era. I
feel like if anyone's to do it, it makes sense for him. Like, I'm not saying that he has full control. It's not his thing, but it's not just his show. But I feel like if anyone's going to, you've only got to really look at the Daleks from Moffat's era, like with the.
Exactly, yeah. What I love about that is that I've seen in interviews with Moffat since then where he completely admits that it was an absolute mistake. He completely knows.
Him so big.
Yeah.
There's a charm to the bronze ones. And they're more iconic now than ever.
Actually, me and Ben rewatched Dalek the other day for a Patreon episode. We did a commentary for it. It's actually going out the same day that this episode is supposed to be going out because it's 20 years since Dalek.
God.
I know. But I was just like, that design is, especially the one at the beginning before it's regenerated itself and it's all battered and broken. It looks so bloody cool.
It does.
I started to say posh there. So bloody cool.
Did you ever play that game
on the BBC website? Yes, The Last Dalek. I loved it.
I loved that. So, do you know, God, I miss those sort of games. Those were so, like, I remember being a kid and just like, I'd be playing that and I was listening to Billy Piper. Like, I was fully in it.
So on brand.
You know, I was new. I was learning everything. I was like, oh my God, what is like.
Yeah.
But that was a classic, the Dalek game.
Yes,
Iconic.
it was. I remember playing that in the school library at lunchtime. You're supposed to only go in there if you've got work to do, and the librarians are like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
No playing
it's a Doctor Who game. Yeah. Anywho, every episode of this series, what I'm doing as well is just asking my guests for a quick fire. Tell me your favourite thing and your least favourite thing about this episode.
Okay, my favourite thing this episode was... I actually think Belinda. Just Belinda. Like, I feel like she's doing amazing and she's carrying a lot of... Like, she's just got so much charm and she's lovely. And her face... What is it the kids say on Twitter? Her face card is serving. Is that right? I don't know. Or she's eating with her...
Oh, yeah. She ate and left no crumbs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I said that to some kids the other day and they were like, oh, my God. Now I know that phrase.
And I would say the thing I liked least, Cassio. I thought he was just kind of annoying. And he just looked like he was having a strop, like a toddler. He was my least favourite thing, but he also was my hottie, so it's kind of like...
Yeah, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, exactly. Balances each other out.
Yeah.
What was your favourite and your least favourite?
Well, I kind of had two favourites, but one of them is very similar to yours, where you said about Belinda. I really liked the, particularly the opening sequence with the energy of, I love this. There's this music track that's been in every episode so far of this season, and it's like do 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 do, and it's every time it plays, it's like, oh, you feel a bit excited.
Do we know what Belinda's theme is yet?
That's what I was going to say. I don't. There's not one that's popped out as being like a really noticeable, because Murray Gold traditionally loves like really noticeable melodies for his companion themes, and I haven't noticed a melody that's stuck out, but then, as I said, that track has played, and then there's a little bit that comes after it that's a little bit more somber, that sort of seems to link to Belinda and her emotional journey. So it could be that, but I haven't noticed a tune as such. But no, I'm probably going to say my favourite thing is Rose Ayling-Ellis and her performance. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's true, actually. That's a very good point.
And least favourite, I'll say just that I do wish the mechanics of what was going on was a little bit clearer. Maybe it's just me being thick, but I found it a little bit confusing.
I think it is a little bit confusing. Like, some of my family didn't really get it. Like, they said, I've really enjoyed every episode of this last few that we've watched. And they were like, but I didn't really get this one.
So just to finish off then, I always ask listeners to let me know what they think of each episode. And Kelly says, this is the scariest episode we've had in years since the Moffat era. Had shivers down my spine. Dominic says, it was good, but I think Midnight was better being left as a one-off episode.
I can see that.
Yeah. A lot of people questioning whether it needed a sequel, or whether this episode needed to be a sequel to Midnight, or could it have just been its own thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I can understand. Dan says, I loved it. Rose was a fantastic guest star and my jaw hit the floor at the Midnight reveal. And Harry says, what a bloody good episode. The show's been crying out for a much more darker and eerie tone for ages. I would agree with that. This, like I said, it did feel like proper old-fashioned, creepy Doctor Who, which we haven't had for a while.
Yeah.
And finally, Axton Alex says, the creature has played copycat, hide and seek, then what? It took the soul from the Doctor in Midnight, the friends of Alice in the well. It craves attention, and because of that and the ending tease, we'll see it again in 15 years, I guess.
That's true, actually, because it kind of was playing games.
Exactly. I like that. This is sort of childish, because in Midnight it was like, it's a young creature and it's sort of learning.
Like learning to speak.
And exploring.
Yeah.
But all these 400,000 years later, it's playing a different kind of game, where it's hiding behind someone. Yeah, wow, what an interesting episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bloody good episode. Everyone's clearly in agreement on that, because, I haven't really seen many negatives about this one.
No.
Which is rare. For Doctor Who.
It is rare, yeah.
Sorry, I feel like you and I could talk for hours about Doctor Who.
Well, yes. I think I have to say we've set a record because this is the longest recording I've ever done for a podcast.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologise.
You're going to have to, it's going to take a while to...
Yeah, I wonder what I'm going to be able to edit it down to. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you.
Like you say, we could talk about Doctor Who for hours.
Yes, honestly, I think we have.
Well,
if you put all the podcast episodes together,
yes,
we could be there all day. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for joining again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
And who knows? Maybe you and I might have a project of some sort on the horizon.
Yeah, who knows? That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Taps nose in a Tom Baker fashion.
Yeah.
I'm going to be joined next week by another guest, or actually two guests, to talk about Lucky Day. But for now, listeners, all I have to say is stay cool, stay safe,
stay fantastic. Is that good?
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.